National debt is $35 trillion and counting. Again, the problem with raising taxes as a solution to our government's financial woes is that it destroys some of the incentive for people to create businesses in the first place. The less money that business owners get to keep, the less motivated many people will be.
Wait, time out, y'all. Can't Kamala Harris just do this right now?
And Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race on July 21st, 2024, right in the middle of his campaign. And this has created a very interesting situation where Vice President Kamala Harris took over as the Democratic frontrunner for the presidential election with just a few short months to go, and without actually winning a Democratic primary election. Ever since Kamala took over, she has given very few interviews and has answered very few questions to clarify her economic policies. This has left many people confused about exactly where she stands on important issues, such as taxation. However, she has made some comments throughout her campaigns, and she's also released a new tax plan in early September.
I'm excited for this because I say this in my videos all the time. My biggest problem, my biggest problem with Kamala, personally, is that I just don't even know what she stands for. And I think that's a fair problem to have, considering that she's been the vice president for the past 4 years. And I can't count on one hand how many public interviews she's done. Genuine question, can you count how many public interviews she's done where she sat down and talked about her plans? Now she's running for president. And for the longest, we still didn't even know what she wanted to do in office. So I'm excited to see what her plan is, her tax plan, her economic plan, considering we've been on the borderline of a recession for the past 4 years. Inflation's at one of the highest it's been. I really want to know what she would do if she was in office. But let's get into it. And shout out to this creator.
So I'm going to break down her key points for her tax plan so we all know, what does the Harris administration believe in? Here's proposal number 1. Taxing unrealized capital gains. Kamala Harris wants to tax unrealized capital gains for the wealthy, and President Biden originally proposed this, but Kamala has announced that she also supports this idea. If you do not know what an unrealized gain is, it's a hypothetical profit that you might make one day by selling a capital asset such as a stock or a piece of real estate at a higher price than what you originally bought it for. So let's just say, for example, if you bought Apple stock at $200 and it rose to a price of $300, you would have an unrealized gain of $100 if you never sold. However, you would only realize the gain if you sold it, thus locking you in on the $100 profit. But by taxing unrealized gains, Vice President Harris would be taxing fictional profits that you don't technically have yet in your possession. Remember, the price of assets like stocks, precious metals, real estate, bonds, they don't always go up. Sometimes they go down. So yes, you might have to pay capital gains taxes on assets you actually lose money on in a Kamala Harris presidency. Taxing unrealized capital gains is an extreme departure from current tax policies, which only tax realized capital gains. It is important to note, however, for now, this tax proposal would only apply to families with a net worth above $100 million.
Okay.
Under the Biden-Harris tax proposal, families with this amount of wealth would owe up to 25% in taxes on unrealized capital gains, depending on the tax rates they are already paying. They will owe a 25% minimum tax that includes unrealized capital gains. Now, why are taxes on unrealized capital gains concerning? I know some of you out there are probably thinking, I love Kamala and I don't care if she taxes unrealized capital gains because this will only apply to the ultra wealthy. If you fall into this category, I got some news for you. Regular income taxes also started out as applying to the ultra wealthy, but I'm guessing most of you watching this video currently are paying income taxes even if you're not ultra wealthy.
So what he's saying is that this rule, although she will only apply to families making over 100 million, will probably eventually trickle down to the middle class families, which makes perfect sense. Because if you think about it, even if you think about the concept of taxes in America, you pay taxes on income, you pay taxes every time you buy something, and you pay taxes every time you sell something. You pay land taxes, you have to pay taxes on your car, you have to pay taxes on everything. Literally everything. So was that always a middle class thing or even a lower class thing? Probably not. But now it definitely is. So that's insane.
Otherwise, take risks to generate capital gains if they know they will lose up to 25% before they even take their profits. Okay, Let's move on to Kamala's second tax proposal, because the capital gains one got me pissed off. The second proposal is raising the corporate tax rate. Kamala Harris also wants to raise the corporate tax rate from 21% to 28%, which is almost double what Donald Trump is proposing. Now, if you are a business owner, you could expect to pay significantly more in corporate taxes if Kamala Harris is elected and if the tax proposal goes through. Now, this is another controversial issue. A lot of people believe that raising corporate tax rates is a good idea because it forces successful corporations to contribute more to the federal government's tax revenue. Kamala Harris has been arguing that this will help to reduce our national deficit, which, if you are unaware, has gotten insanely out of control. Currently, the United States national debt is $35 trillion and counting. Again, the problem with raising taxes as a solution to our government's financial woes is that it destroys some of the incentive for people to create businesses in the first place. The less money that business owners get to keep, the less motivated many people will be.
Wait, time out, y'all. Can't Kamala Harris just do this right now? Like all jokes aside. She's in office right now. And I know she's the vice president. She's not the actual president. But think about it like this. You're at a company, right? And you're second in command. You're second in command. Literally, no one's above you but the CEO, the big boss. And you had these things that you desperately wanted to do. You telling me that you wouldn't be able to do one of them? And the reason I'm saying that is because she has a big plan, and I get it. I understand all of it cannot be done possibly right now, considering she's on her last leg of her vice presidency. But come on, like, you can do one of these things right now. Let's say you could sneak down the hall to President Biden's office and say, "Hey, lower them taxes right quick. Hey, let's do some legislation to raise that corporate tax." Like, genuinely, that's a good question to ask. Why hasn't she done it yet? Maybe it's something I don't understand, but let's continue.
Another day. Let's talk about proposal number 3. No taxes on tips. Donald Trump famously announced that he would eliminate taxes on tips during his acceptance speech for the presidential nomination at the Republican National Convention. Kamala Harris, who usually disagrees with almost everything Trump says, apparently liked this policy and quickly copied it. She announced that she would also eliminate taxes on tips for hospitality and service workers weeks after Trump did. So, if you're someone who is a tipped worker, such as a hairdresser, server, a bartender, a caddy, then you could soon not have to pay taxes on your tips regardless of who wins the election. Okay. Now, of course, whether Trump or Kamala wins, this tax proposal would still have to make it through Congress to become law. Here's proposal number 4, raising capital gains taxes. In addition to adding a tax for unrealized capital gains, Kamala Harris also wants to raise the long-term capital gains tax rate for Americans earning over $1 million per year to 28%. This is 8% higher than the current 20% long-term capital gains rate for high earners. If the proposal passes, it means that long-term capital gains taxes would be higher than they have been in decades. However, Kamala's new proposed tax rate for long-term capital gains is lower than the rate that Joe Biden wanted to raise it to, which was 39.6%. When you include the net investment income tax, it's almost upwards to 44%. So Kamala Harris has actually deviated from Joe Biden on this issue. But for all of you stocks, bonds, commodity, cryptocurrency, and real estate investors out there making more than $1 million per year, just be aware that Kamala is coming for an extra 8% on your capital gains taxes. Here's proposal number 5, an expansion of the startup expense deduction. Although Kamala has proposed raising the corporate income tax rate to 28%, she's also proposed expanding the startup expense deduction to $50,000 in speech in New Hampshire on September 4th. Currently, this deduction is only worth $5,000. This deduction helps new small business owners afford various startup expenses. You get to deduct your first $5,000 in startup costs. Kamala's expansion of this tax deduction is designed to help new small business owners cope with the roughly $40,000 that it takes on average to launch an enterprise. During her speech in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where she outlined this new tax proposal, Kamala claimed that she wants to see applications from 25 million new businesses.
I have a question regarding this. When you're giving money to small businesses, my only thing is, what's the point of doing that if you're just going to raise the taxes on business owners? And I mean like significantly raise it. Like it said 28% on corporations, but you also want new corporations, so you're going to give them an incentive to start a corporation, then raise the taxes. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because to me it seems like the expenses are just going to cancel out anyways, rather than having a president who doesn't give a new incentive but keeps taxes the same. You get what I'm saying? But anyways, let me know how you guys feel about her economic plan. These are some very good points. And I'm just excited to see how things work out. It's LFR Jojo, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.